have even heard about this story yet, that President Biden is facing challenges just getting on the Ohio general election ballot. This wasn't the primary. This is the general election ballot, and it's because their convention, which is where you officially nominate your candidate for president of the United States when you are the Democrat Party. The Republican Party goes first. They go in July, and that's how it works. The party who's out of power goes first. Party who's got the presidency goes second.
As of right this second,
he is.
Joe Biden cannot qualify to be on the ballot in the state of Ohio.
Right, because you have to have been nominated by August 7th is the deadline to certify a presidential candidate to the office in Ohio. That is 12 days before they're even scheduled to begin the Democrat National Convention, where you would nominate, ultimately, Joe Biden. It begins on August 19th. The nominating of Joe Biden wouldn't occur until later into that convention, a couple days, usually 2 or 3 days into the convention, which are usually 3.5-day events. So they're going to have to figure this out, because it's not a good story to start with on a Monday. It's a huge state to make a misstep like this on. You can't give up in Ohio. I have a feeling they will work something out, but it is extremely embarrassing to the team running the Biden campaign, because you'd think they'd be all over at least getting on the ballot. They didn't even have a primary challenge. Literally, all they had to do was make sure they were following the rules of each state before they set their primary, before they set their convention date. Again, everything would have been fine. But, Logan, they didn't.
It's not necessarily that this was going to keep Joe Biden from figuring out a way to get on the ballot in November in Ohio. What this does show is where they've been focusing, and they've been focusing on the wrong things. As we've done our work to make sure President Trump is kept on the ballot for real reasons, the fact that they were filing to get him knocked off the ballot, that the Biden campaign wasn't even paying attention close enough to probably a top 10 state of where they could be on the ballot. Obviously, Ohio, known to be one of the biggest swing states, weren't paying attention. Right. And hopefully this shows the American people a little bit that just their eye is off the ball.
Make them go to court. Make them go to the legislature. Make them go beg to change the rule. I don't think Republicans need to do that. Make the Democratic National Committee go and beg the Democrats and the Republicans in the state house in Ohio and their governor to change this rule.
Will, our executive producer, just said they have to write that exception and pass it in 1 month, when currently their General Assembly isn't in session right now.
You have to really beg.
Yeah, but I do think it's probably worth it.
Yeah, you don't really want to go into a general election giving up Ohio completely, though. Going to be a tough state for him to win. There's a lot of other races in Ohio.
Let's talk about that. So Ohio has always been known as sort of one of the swing states.
It was.
Now President Trump kind of changed that, but that doesn't mean that it's not a swing state still.
No,
they still have Democrats in state.
Elected at the Senate level, the U.S. Senate level, so at statewide level, you've got Democrats. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, I think this election cycle with Donald Trump as the candidate, it is likely that he will win. But there will be plenty of Democrats who will also win other races going on, House races and local races too. So you would hope, you'd want your leader, Joe Biden, to be at the top of the ticket to encourage people to get out, not just to vote for him. Maybe he can't win the state, but to vote for in their local races for Democrats where they can win. So it's not always based off, can I win the state? But it's, hey, maybe I don't win Ohio, but I can still become president, and I can get 2 or 3 more congressmen in the House, or maybe a senator in the U.S. Senate who supports my work. That's a lot better than 3 Republicans and another Republican senator who doesn't. So you can see why it's an interesting play.
They were concentrating on everything but their own campaign and trying to figure out the process in Ohio. Remember, they have manipulated the primary schedule. They abandoned Iowa, and they went with a whole new schedule. So this is the first time that the Democratic National Committee is trying to figure out a new strategy, and I think that they've misstepped. They certainly have a problem in Ohio. I spoke to a former county chair in Ohio, a very large county with a lot of influence, and this individual told me that it's a real problem. The Democrats in Ohio really miscalculated, and they have a problem. Now, look, I think that that Joe Biden should be on the ballot in Ohio, put him on the ballot. We shouldn't have a system where you're kicking people off the ballot. The Democrats are doing that to Trump. It's wrong. And we certainly shouldn't try to do that with Biden. They messed up. Let's fix it and get him on the ballot in Ohio.
They'll pitch it as you were trying to disenfranchise voters because you're afraid Joe Biden's going to beat you in Ohio. And then you'll have to come back and say, no, we're not. Just let him be on the ballot. And I would love to punish them for their mistake here and not let him be on the ballot. But I think in 2024, you risk looking like a party who's trying to, again, taking away the ability for people to vote.
Yeah,
and we didn't really like that in Colorado when they tried to do that to President Trump.
To do something also, so it's like we had
14 states that we represented where they tried to take President Trump off the ballot. We won at the Supreme Court 9-0 that you can't do that. Now, he didn't do anything. He filed everything correctly.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, the Supreme Court is going to look at this and say, why didn't you follow your rules? Now, I think there is a way, probably under Democrat rules, when I'm reading through this, where they can have a nominating convention that's separate from their national convention. May take a little bit of the fun away of, who does Maine nominate? Who does blah, blah, blah nominate? That one night they show on TV for the full 4 hours, the big night where they give the candidate then gives the big speech. But they may be able to do a real one and a fake one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big pomp and circumstance
have this done
entertainment
off camera.
Yeah, that would be the way or the workaround here if that's what's needed.
If we were in this situation, we made this mistake. Do you think the Democrats would even help us?
No, not only would they not help us, there would be 25 thought pieces from the New York Times and others saying just how right it was to kick them off because, got to teach them a lesson for lack of planning, and they would just go with it, and it would somehow support democracy.
It's not Ohio taking him off the ballot. This was the DNC and the Biden administration, or the Biden campaign, not focusing on the rules.
Right.
And a misstep, a mistake, a big one, potentially. Now, again, do we think they're going to fix it? Yeah. Do people like Rick Grinnell on here say, yeah, we should, because it's the right thing to do, even if you don't agree with it.
Right.
It's still the right thing to do.
Of trying to take away your right to vote for
or
the
impeach a president over nothing.
Your choice. Right. We're not going to impeach presidents over nothing. Look, at the ultimate, it's very embarrassing for President Biden because his team has spent so much time on trying to disqualify President Trump from the ballot that they didn't even realize they were disqualifying themselves from the ballot by unintentionally setting up a convention post dates for when they needed to be nominated to be on the ballot in one of the most important states in the country when it comes to the presidential election, the state of Ohio, which is leaning red, but still has an elected statewide U.S. Democrat senator.
Well,
so you don't want to give that state away.
Even the most red states, you could say Tennessee and Alabama.
You're still getting votes.
They're still 40% a lot of the times are going to the Democrats.
Well, so that means you're getting House Democrats elected. You might get a senator elected.
You don't want to be off the ballot because that's real bad.
You don't want to go into the Congress and have no allies.